What's up, Tigers? How are you doing? I hope everything is fine. My name is Pepe Cuenca. I'm a Spanish Grandmaster, and I welcome you to the game of the day of round number 2 of the Candidates Tournament. It really started with a lot of fireworks in the first round, and the second round didn't disappoint either. So I'm going to show you one beautiful game that happened between Alexander Grischuk, the Russian player, and Grischuk-So, the player from the United States. Actually, both of them had lost in the first round, so it is a really important game. It was a really important game between the both of them, since now another loss could actually mean that they will be really far from the target of qualifying for a spot for the World Championship against Magnus Carlsen in November in London. So I'm gonna cut the bullshit and start analyzing what happened in the 64 squares in this amazing and instructive game between Alexander Grischuk and Grischuk-So. So the Russian player Grischuk starts with e4, e5 by Grischuk-So, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop b5, the Spanish Ruy Lopez variation. And now Grischuk-So decides to go for a6 instead of knight f6, which is known as the Berlin defense. Actually, one of the most played defenses in top tournaments, right? But I like the spirit of the players in this tournament. Every player is basically going for the win, or at least playing openings where actually the 3 results are possible. So Grischuk-So goes for the main Spanish with a6, and now bishop a4. For those who are starting with chess, you have that bishop takes c6. This is an exchange variation. Now actually the e5 pawn is not hanging, right? Because after queen d4, black just gets this pawn back. So bishop a4, knight f6, short castles, and bishop e7. This is theory, of course. And now there are 2 main options. The main move is rook e1, defending the e4 pawn, b5, bishop e3, d6. Now black creates a positional threat, basically, now that this pawn is protected on e5. Now black is aiming to go for knight a5 in order to get the bishop pair on b3. So that's why here in these types of positions, white gives a room for this bishop. So now knight a5 is not as dangerous, and now you also plan to reinforce the center after d4 with that guy on c3. But after bishop e7, Grischuk goes for the other main option. He goes for d3. Actually, you guys have a really amazing video series by the 8 times Russian champion Peter Spittler, who will be commentating actually with Jan in the next rounds about this d3 move. It's really amazing series, so I actually recommend you to take a look on that. So the idea is after b5, bishop b3, d6, now black is again creating this threat of going knight a5. So now there are 2 options. Actually, Peter Spittler recommends a3 in that video series. The idea is rather simple. So after knight a5, you just want to go bishop a2, and in these types of positions, you don't go c3 and knight b2. Instead, you go knight c3, and in many occasions, you jump with that knight to d5. But of course, the other main option is c3, as Alexander Grischuk plays, and the idea is, of course, again to give a room for that guy on c2 after knight a5, and now this knight is going to be developed by a d2. So black went short castling here, and now h3, a multi-purpose move. Of course, you give some pressure for the king, but the main idea is, of course, to avoid this bishop g4 ideas, pinning this knight on f3. And sometimes you want to play d4, and then black could put a lot of pressure on the center by playing bishop g4. In this position, the main move is knight a5, very typical in these types of structures, where after bishop c2, black expands his center, his queen side, by playing c5. Then this knight has done his job. So now you have kicked this bishop from b3 from the best diagonal. So this knight normally returns to c6, where actually protects e5, and then black is ready to strike in the center with d5 sometimes. This is very well known. So rook e1, queen c7, knight bd2, etc., etc. But the thing is, after h3, Wesley-So goes for bishop b7. Another natural and human move, of course. And now, knight bd2 by Grischuk. In these types of positions, actually, everything is more or less possible. So rook e1, a4, knight bd2. This is why these positions are extremely rich and very flexible, and many possibilities are in the air. So knight bd2, this knight here looks a little bit clumsy, right? But there are really known maneuvers and interesting maneuvers for that knight. So you want to go sometimes with rook e1, knight f1, knight g3, and then even this knight can come to h2, to g4, this knight can come to f5. The knight on g3 is extremely well placed, where you actually defend the pawn on e4, and then you are ready to strike in the center with e4, sorry, with d4. In this position, Wesley-So plays rook e8, and now just 2 or 3 games according to my database, and not from top players. So let's say we are in Virgin field, right? So knight g5 was played by Alexander Grischuk, attacking f7 and rook f8. And some of you could be thinking, Pepe, why Wesley-So played rook e8? This doesn't make any sense to me. Well, the thing is, it's true that you actually lost a tempo with rook e8 and rook f8. But the thing is, you're gonna kick this knight back to f3 with h6, and then you can always come back to e8. So basically, white is also gonna lose a tempo by playing knight g5 and knight f3. So nothing serious has happened here. Grischuk plays rook e1, and maybe at this point Wesley-So plays some kind of an inaccuracy here in this position. He goes for d5. It's true that it's actually a really natural move, but according to what we saw in the game, maybe this is a bit too risky. So maybe knight a5 was a better choice. Bishop c2 and c5 playing in this in the style of these structures. But d5, e takes d5, knight takes d5. Now this bishop on b3 is going to be a monster in these types of positions, putting pressure on f7. Now, of course, the knight on g5 is hanging, so that's why Grischuk plays knight d to f3, not only defending this guy on g5, but also putting some pressure on the e5 pawn. And now you're gonna see that the e5 pawn is gonna suffer in many cases, and it's not gonna be easy to defend this guy on e5, right? Because you will love to play f6 in these types of positions. But the thing is, with that guy here looking at you with beautiful eyes, saying, you know, you let's see if you got the balls to play f6. Of course, it's really dangerous with that diagonal open. Yes, so Wesley-So in this position played queen d7, saying, you know, I pass. Let's see if you can take the pawn on e5. The thing is, that pawn is poisoned, as we're going to see now. Another option was to play h6, knight e4, queen d7, and let's say knight g3, and then that pawn on e5 could suffer. If you put the bishop on d6, knight d5 is hanging. If the bishop goes to f6, then you can always jump to h5, creating some troubles. And then you can never play actually f6. If you had the pawn on h7 and the king on h8, f6 would be possible. But now let's see how many holes you have here. Not only your ass, but also look at all these holes on g6, f5, and h5. So extremely dangerous for black here. So after knight d to f3, Wesley-So plays queen d7, and the thing is, you can't actually take on e5 now, because after knight takes e5, rook takes e5, who solves the problem for black here? Who solves your problem? Your mom? Well, sometimes. Your girlfriend? Sometimes. Your dog? That dog only shits in the street, and then you have to get that shit back and to put in the rubbish, right? So Facundo solves the issue, f6, and now black is basically winning some material. So that's why after queen d7, Grischuk didn't take on e5, but instead played the move d4. Black is forced to take on d4, c takes d4, queen d3 was also interesting. But c takes d4 is maybe even more human, because after queen d3, g6, c takes d4, black has some jumps here who can be annoying. So c takes d4, and now we got to analyze this position. Let's try to comment some things. Well, the thing is, this bishop on b3 is actually a monster. We were saying you will love to kick that bishop from that diagonal by playing knight a5 at some point, but the thing is, the e5 square is actually extremely weak, and there is some beautiful knight coming to e5 in all those variations. So that's why it's really difficult to kick that bishop from b3. And white plan is going to be rather simple. So you're going to develop your bishop via d2, and then a rook will come to c1, and then this knight probably will end up being on e4, and then e5 square is actually really important, and c5 square, because after a rook has come to c1, some knight could jump to c5, and then you are putting a lot of pressure on black side. So black has to do something, and maybe some plan could be related to put some pressure on the isolated pawn. Of course, black will love to exchange as many pieces as possible, since you are playing against an isolated pawn structure, and it's good. It's good to exchange some pieces, but this is not going to be easy, right, in this type of position. So black played h6, knight e4, unique move, and another maybe not so accurate move by Wesley-So in this position. He went for rook fe8, maybe natural, but now this bishop on b3 is going to be even more strong, because now f7 would be even more weak, and then there are going to be a lot of tricks, as we are going to see in the next variants and in the next move. Maybe more accurate was rook a d8. It's so easy to talk from outside. Then we got to see in the board, and then we start playing some stupid things, right? Chess is so hard, and of course these guys are extremely good players, and but they're humans, right? And they make slight mistakes, and then they are playing against another monster. So a slight mistake, and then you receive a lot of pressure. So rook a d8 with the plan of going knight f6 was actually very interesting, because now if you continue with the natural development with bishop d2, now knight f6 actually really good. There is a lot of pressure on d4, and then you're gonna exchange some pieces here, and then you want to win the bishop pair in this position. Let's say knight c5, d takes e5, knight d4, black gains a lot of counterplay, and now the bishop on b7 is also a little more. So maybe after rook a d8, knight g3, prophylactic against knight f6, and then you got the opportunity to go bishop e3 in this position. So who knows, yeah? But he went for rook fe8, and now Grischuk plays bishop d2, and now black has a lot of problems. It's incredible, right? That in this position black has a lot of problems. But it has, and let's see why. Now you've planned to continue with the same idea of rook a d8 and knight f6. Actually, it's not gonna be possible, because now after rook c1 is included, there are so many tricks related by going, whenever a knight is removed from d5, there are so many tricks related by going rook takes c6, bishop f7, and knight e5, giving this beautiful fork that actually black cannot even play here knight f6. There is a boom, rook takes c6, bishop c6, and now knight e5 or bishop f7, both moves win in this position. So rook a d8, rook c1, a lot of pressure, so that's why Wesley-So decided to go for knight f6 straight away, and now Grischuk plays rook c1 in this moment, again threatening to go rook c6 actually in this position. So that's why black took on e4, rook takes e4, and now again, you are threatening rook takes c6. If black plays rook a d8, there is another baboom. Well, rook c6, maybe it's possible, but then bishop h6 is also an idea all the time in the air, because now you can't actually take on h6, rook g4, king h8, and another exchange sacrifice, rook takes c6, bishop takes c6, knight e5, and now if you play queen c8, there is checkmate. Knight f7, now queen to d3, and then there is checkmate in two moves, bishop e4, give it that to me, queen f5, give me that to me, who's your daddy? And the thing is, after rook e4, so now rook c6 is in the air, bishop h6 is in the air, so Wesley-So plays bishop f6, which makes a lot of sense. So now knight e5 is not possible anymore in all those variations, and you protect g7. You are aiming to exchange some heavy pieces, which actually Grischuk doesn't want. That's why he went for rook g4, and from this point, actually Grischuk plays in an extremely brilliant way. and you're gonna see this. I mean, this maneuver of bringing the rook from f1 to g4, it's incredible. But now you're going to see another incredible maneuver, which actually you don't see very often. So now you are threatening to go bishop h6. Now black plays king h8, really natural move. Now bishop h6 is not possible. So it looks like black is a little bit worse, but nothing serious happens here. And then you are aiming to go rook d8, putting some pressure on d4. What's the plan for white here? You got beautiful pieces here, but you need something else in life. Yeah, you need something else. And now Grischuk plays the brilliant move, rook c5. And I was amazed when I saw this move, because you barely see these types of maneuvers in the middle game with all the heavy pieces. Rook f1, rook e1, rook e4, rook g4, rook c1, rook c5, rook h5. This is the idea. And now bishop d2 looking at h6. This is so dangerous for black, yeah? And not only you want to go rook h5, but also you have given this square for the queen c1, where you don't only put a lot of pressure on c6, but you also start looking with the last piece you were missing for the attack, the queen. So now you will have the two rooks, the two bishops, and the queen looking to h6, g7, and f7. And Grischuk-So has only this poor bishop on f6, trying to protect his ass. Everything is so, so difficult for black now here. And actually Grischuk-So collapses in this position, because it's so tough to defend that actually he ends up losing very quickly. So he went for rook a8, and now queen c1, last piece, now threatening to go bishop takes h6 in the next move. And now Grischuk-So tries to create a trick in the defense. So he took on d4, knight takes e4, and now the thing is, you cannot take back on d4 with the bishop, because there is a huge baboom, boom, bishop takes h6. You can never take on h6, because there is checkmate. But if you take on c5, bishop takes e7 is actually crashing as well. So king g8, you got bishop f6, or even queen h6 wins on the spot. So Grischuk-So, these guys of course have 10 lives, yeah. So in order to kill them, you have to kill them a lot of times. So he goes for rook e4 here in this position. And the most natural move here, rook takes e4, actually doesn't work, because after bishop e4, black is gonna regain a piece, since you cannot protect the knight on d4 and the bishop on d2 at the same time. So black gets back a piece, and it's not that lost. But the thing is, Grischuk plays rook c7, queen takes e4, and now what's the idea for white, right? There are two good moves. Grischuk plays bishop e3, which is enough for the win, as we're gonna see in a few seconds. But there was an amazing continuation after bishop c3 in this position. And some of you could be asking, Pepe, what are you talking again? Bishop e3 didn't allow queen b6. Now with bishop c3, you have allowed queen b6. I'm protecting b7. I'm protecting f6. I'm protecting e4. Who's this guy? Who's this Pepe Cuenca? Go play checkers. The thing is, there is an extremely beautiful continuation here. Boom! Rook takes b7, and then queen takes b7. And for those who saw the World Championship in Chess 24 between Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karjakin, could actually spot the next move for white. Boom! Ra-da-da-da! Queen takes h6, winning on the spot. G takes h6, bishop takes f6, and there is checkmate actually in 4 moves. King h7, rook g7, king h8, rook f7, king g8 only move, rook g7, and then if you go king h8, there is rook b7 checkmate. If you go king f7, king f8, sorry, there is rook g8 checkmate. Okay, Grischuk with 1 minute in the clock, he played bishop e3, much more natural. The thing is, after rook g4, h takes e4, queen e4, looks like safe the game for black, but then again Facundo, in a really soft and romantic way, comes and solves the issue by playing a3, deviation thin. Now you can never protect b7, and this is just a clean piece up. They continued playing some moves, since Grischuk had 30 seconds in the clock, but the thing is, this is just one for white. So bishop b2, queen f1, f6, queen f2, and bishop e5, f4, bishop d6, g5, opening Also, the a1 g7 diagonal. If you open the h file, when a queen lands on on the h file, it's going to be checkmate. Look at this guy on b3 doing an amazing job. Queen e4, attacking the rook. Queen f3, check, check. They repeat a couple of times. Queen b1, king f2. Now black is threatening last trick, checkmate on e1. Not gonna work. Not gonna work. King g3 takes. King h2. Finally hiding the king. Queen f5, rook f7, queen g6, and f takes, bishop d6, king h3, and black gave up, right? Since now after h takes g5, there was the last brilliant move, king to g4, now threatening queen h3, and whenever this king goes to g8, then just a simple discover move like rook f1 would win the game on the spot. What a game by Grischuk. Now he's back in the track with 50%. Remember that Grischuk-So has 0 out of 2, and Kramnik is leading the tournament with Caruana with 1.5 and another guy, and Grischuk-So has actually a lot of difficulties now to win the tournament, so he needs a win. And now I think today he's got the white pieces again against Dingliren, if I remember correctly. Anyway, you can actually follow all the action from 3 p.m. Madrid time, Central European time. So I hope to see you guys over there. It's been a pleasure for me to analyze the game. I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. So see you in the next video. And by the way, Jan had to go to pick up Spittler to the airport, so that's why I'm recording this video. You'll have Peter Spittler and Jan analysis from the next rounds. So it's been a pleasure. If you drink, don't drive. Bye bye.